What up, everybody? It's your friendly neighborhood menace, and you might have heard a bunch of boomers, no cap, complaining about Social Security and Medicaid, and they're freaking out because Musk is trying to figure this stuff out. Now, they just did an interview on Fox News with the whole Doge team. I'm gonna try and find this clip, put it in, but essentially, they're finding so much fraud and waste in there, and what's going on, you'll see that the Democrats, they've been asking for this.
Not keep our promises on Medicare. We simply must make the cuts in waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare so that the benefits and the premiums are untouched. We owe it to our seniors. We owe it to our country.
21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24.
But that's not necessarily evidence of payments. Non-citizens who are authorized to work in the U.S. receive Social Security numbers for tax purposes, a policy that started under the first Trump administration. A 2024 audit found $72 billion in improper payments over a 7-year period. Well, that sounds like a lot. It's less than 1% of the...
It doesn't matter. It's $72 billion.
The agency paid out over that time, and many payments labeled improper were later adjusted. Doge can't touch Social Security payments without the approval of Congress, but they have reduced agency staffing and implemented abrupt rule changes, like requiring recipients to visit Social Security offices in person to prove their identity. Number says they came upon these numbers by accident. He says they were mapping out the Social Security system, trying to find out where fraud was, and then they came upon this.
This is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Generally, non-citizens who are authorized to work in the U.S. can get a Social Security number. What's not clear from that presentation is what percentage or share of those SSNs may be fraudulent. So for weeks now, the Social Security Administration has been working to clear out bad data, listing the people over the age of 120 as being dead. The efforts came after President Trump and Doge pointed out the inconsistencies in the system. Doge says its estimated savings so far total about $140 billion. So could Musk stay longer than 130 days? That's the maximum amount of time he can work in his role this year as a special government employee. Here's what the president had to say about that.
I think he's amazing, but I also think he's got a big company to run, and so at some point he's going to be going back. Oh, I'd keep him as long as I could keep him. He's a very talented guy. I love very smart people. And he's very smart. And he's done a good job. Doge has, we found numbers that nobody can even believe.
Mm-hmm.
Musk has said before he'd like to continue Doge's work for another year, but he's also told our Brett Baer he believes he would finish most of the work to cut $1 trillion in spending within weeks, potentially by May.
So now we're going to look at the guy that was doing the presentation. He's going to give us a little bit more content and just clarify a couple things for us.
That are draining taxpayer dollars.
As the saying goes, the wheels of justice turn slowly but surely. And I think probably the person that stole 400,000 Social Security numbers, at least, maybe more, will be arrested hopefully this week.
In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
We went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident.
All right, Valor CEO and Doge volunteer Antonio Gracias, the guy you just saw, was just with Musk in Wisconsin over the weekend. He joins us from the North Lawn. Antonio, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve.
That's a jaw-dropping number. Where did all those people come from?
Well, it made my jaw drop too when I saw it. We were in Social Security looking for fraud, waste, and abuse. And to do that, we actually looked at the enumeration system, the system by which people get numbers in America. And we found that there were just about 5+ million of them that came to the country as illegals, were giving various forms of parole or allowed in the country, and they got through an automatic system, Social Security numbers, so they get into our benefit systems. And we tracked that through and found that they were on the benefit programs. And just because we were curious, we then looked to see if they were on the voter rolls. And we found in a handful of cooperative states that there were thousands of them on the voter rolls, and that many of them had voted.
That's crazy, because you cannot vote in a federal election, but I think in certain local elections you can. But once you get a Social Security number, that helps you do a lot of stuff. I know, Antonio, part of this started with a program from, I think, 2017 that got started, where if people came into the country and they were authorized to work, they would automatically give them a number. But, Elon was talking a little bit about how 400,000 Social Security numbers were stolen. It was one person. What can you tell us about that?
And if you look at that graph, okay, there's a gradual, like, a couple 100,000, and then it just jumps like millions. And, okay, that's in 2024, Biden's last year. Isn't that strange? That doesn't stand out to anybody. Like, it's at a very small and then just skyrockets. And then now they're all Democrats. Okay.
That's an ongoing investigation, so I don't know how much I can tell you, but we did find, as we looked through the programs, a particular employee that had actually sent themselves Social Security numbers through their email for reasons we don't understand, but clearly nefarious.
Yeah,
sell.
It does sound like it.
To sell.
So let me ask you this, Antonio. Have you figured out, you saw these millions of people, non-citizens, on the Social Security rolls.
Allegedly.
Did they get benefits?
Yes, we actually tracked them through the benefit programs. We found them in virtually all the benefit programs. And one statistic for you is we found 1.3 million of them on Medicare.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen to those people?
Look, we referred people that were registered to vote, which is a federal crime, and people that voted to ICE, to DHS, and to the DOJ. They've committed to prosecute. And I think it's super important to point out here that none of this would have happened without President Trump. I mean, President Trump had the courage to allow us to go across databases. He signed an executive order. It's never been done before, where agencies could talk to each other and databases could talk to each other. That allowed us to connect all this data to find these people across the system, across the benefit systems, all the way to the voting records.
Yeah.
It really took a lot of courage.
Hey, Antonio, you're a big shot business guy. You know what you're doing in your business. When you went in, I can't think of the last time somebody essentially audited the Social Security Administration, aside from the federal government. But, they've got all these kind of antiquated, crazy rules. Like, I know you uncovered millions of people over the age of 120 and just recently kicked them off the rolls, right?
Yes, that's correct. We did an audit of the entire system, enumeration system for Social Security. And look, the reality is the people in the government know this. There are many, very good people that are helping us. We couldn't have found this stuff without them. We needed
They've
them to
known
point us
for
in the right
years.
direction, and then we looked at the data. So, if you ask people the right questions, they will give you the answers, and they want to help.
Yeah. Antonio, exit question for you. Given all of the abuses you've already found and these people who are getting federal benefits who should not, do you have a price tag on how much you guys are saving the American taxpayer just from Social Security?
I mean, look, it's in the billions. You saw the fraud on the phone lines itself. That was about $1.5 billion. And I would guess at Social Security already we're north of $10 billion.
Okay. Well, the meter's right.
Democrats said that it's not happening, though. They said it's not happening. Okay. Now, I got something else I want to show you guys. The liberals, the libtards, they're trying to frame this. I'm going to explain something after she makes this claim.
He came to the state, he talked about cutting Medicaid, Social Security through Doge, bringing those issues up.
Actually, he never talked. He explicitly said in Green Bay that he would not cut Social Security.
Well,
that's exactly what he said.
Talked at his rallies.
No, other people said about that, but I was there. I watched him.
Okay.
He did not say he was going to cut Medicaid.
Other people at his rallies who work for Doge, who work for Elon Musk's organization, talked about those issues.
No, I was at the rally.
Yeah.
Not one of them said that. That's what
there are
protesters
risks?
said, but nobody there actually said that.
Do you think that there are risks here?
There are.
for
People believe
Republicans?
the lies.
Gets called out on all her bullshit and just keeps trying to backtrack and change the narrative.
Those saying
issues
about that.
being
But that's
associated
not at all what
with
they
us.
said. If people believe that Medicaid and Medicare is going to be touched, that's just a flat outright lie. What he talked about are people who are over 120 years old who
Well,
clearly are not
well, the
alive
reason I brought it
getting
up is
Social Security or Medicaid.
okay. Well,
that's
let's
totally wrong. I think
just to
Democrats
sort
even
just to
believe
sort
that.
this out. The reason I brought this up is because the claim here is that there's massive, widespread fraud, and that's all they're addressing. That's obviously a disputed claim because it's not true that 120-year-old people are getting.
Okay, she will not give a source, and this is what I'm talking about. She has no proof of this, yet she claims this, and it is true.
Security checks. The checks stop at a certain point automatically because those checks and balances
But those Social Security
are
numbers
in place.
get counted for various parts of the federal government. So they count, they don't get a benefit directly to those people, but they count for money that gets allocated to different departments in their budget. And they shouldn't be. If somebody's no longer alive, they shouldn't be able to count that
I
as
guess
an
my
allocation.
fundamental question was, what are the risks here of Elon dabbling in elections?
It must suck to be her, dude. She just is always wrong on everything.
For Republicans going forward?
Well, again, I think in the end, he's going to have to continue to make the case. Part of the reason why, when we talked about our recall, what flipped things for us early on in that recall process, Time Magazine called me Dead Man Walker. And the reason was because all the narratives coming out from the press, coming out from the left, were about all these horrible, egregious things. Once we started to give examples of things we were actually doing, not the things the press said, not the things that our opponents said, but the things that we were actually doing, when we ended up going before the voters in the final election in the recall, we actually won by more votes than we did. So I think that what's paramount for him or anyone else aligned with him is keep giving actual examples of what they're doing. Set aside things like Social Security and make it abundantly clear that that's not being touched. But if there's waste, fraud, or abuse, spell it out, make the case, and bring it to the voters.
I think you saw repudiation.
She embarrasses herself every single time. Her only source, I already know what it is. It's a guy that wrote an article in NPR that used to work for the Social Security Administration. His claim is that they're misreading the Doge code, the young staff is, and that it's like 1.3 million people that are getting that are over 120 getting the benefits. They're saying that they know after they turn 120, they just automatically stopped the benefits and went through. And I asked Grok, I said, so he knows for a fact, he has evidence of this. And it says he doesn't present any evidence and he never went through any of the cases. He's just assuming. And he wrote this in an NPR article, which I just did a video the other day about NPR having to testify in Congress about how they're bought and paid for by the Democrat Party to push whatever narrative they want to push. So there you go. Boom! Now, we got one more thing to show you, and it's going to blow your mind. This dude went around New York and was asking a bunch of illegals. 2 minutes of illegals admitting they have, 2 minutes of illegals saying they have Social Security. So let me read this. In case you can't see it. It says, thank God they helped me get medical insurance, and most importantly, medical insurance. They have helped me to get my ID and helped me to obtain asylum, work permit, and my Social Security card. Thank God I got my Social Security and my work permit. And to get my Social Security and work permit.
Do you have a worker's permit or Social Security number?
Only when my wife, we applied for the work permit, but I only received the work permit when my wife received. The Social Security number,
You get a Social
everything.
Security number when you arrive to the border. They give you one.
No, after I apply for asylum.
You apply for DoorDash, you have the work permit and the Social Security number. How long do you have to wait?
That's how they're doing the fraud. The asylum fraud is how they get a Social Security number after they hop the border illegally.
Wait until you get a job at one of these food delivery companies.
Around for the app is like 1 week.
Sí, ando buscando el social.
So you're looking primarily to the Social Security number, and you haven't gotten it after over a year?
Sí, lo recibí, pero lo guardé.
Yes, I got it, but I kept it inside the paperwork, and now I'm
What was the
looking at
process
it.
like to get that job? Did you have to apply, and how did it work?
I applied for myself and give me my working permit and my social. That's why I used the social to open my application.
Okay. All DoorDash needs is Social Security number and work permit?
Social security number and an ID.
And an ID?
And an ID.
Look at the pictures of the DoorDash drivers. When you get your DoorDash driver, start looking at their photos and you're going to notice something strange.
Did you have to interview with them or speak to anybody, or you just got a notification you can drive?
Yeah, it's a process online. You just fill the form.
Okay.
Yeah, after they open the account for you.
How quickly were you able to find that work?
Tanto que te llegan, cuando te llegan
When your
los
papers
papeles,
arrive,
uno puede aplicar
one
a la
can register in
aplicación,
the
o sea, abrir la
application.
aplicación, colocar el Social
You have to put your
Security,
social and the work
Social
permit.
Security y el permiso de trabajo.
Did you get a Social Security number and a work permit?
Yo estoy pagando para
I'm
eso.
paying to get that.
Social Security number. Any papers that Uber requires?
No.
No.
Aquí,
Here, I
o sea, las personas que ya
the
tienen el
people who
social,
already have the social,
ellos
they
se crean la
create the
cuenta y nos
account
las
and rent
alquilan a
it to us
nosotros
at
a
a
un costo
cost
para
for
nosotros
us to be
poder
able to
salir
go
a
out to
trabajar.
work. They're renting
Entonces,
it.
eso es lo que
So that wasn't much
tampoco
help either because I had
me
to pay
ayudaba
for
mucho
it,
porque tenía que pagar lo que es el
which
alquiler
is
de la
the rental of the
bicicleta, más el
bicycle
alquiler
plus
de
the
la
rental of the
aplicación,
application,
que son costos
which are
semanales. Y
weekly
entonces
costs,
más.
and so with one more, he had nothing left. Wow, dude. So they're renting social security numbers from people that have stolen them. What do you think, man? Modern Menace, I'm out. Peace.